This programme is the Petro Canada Lubricants Porsche Club Championship with Pirelli.
Hello and welcome to Silverstone for rounds 5 and 6 of the Petro Canada Lubricants Porsche Club Championship with Pirelli. It's going to get pretty hot today. We're expecting temperatures to reach 28 degrees. What a fantastic day of racing for our spectators, but it's going to get pretty hot inside those cockpits for our drivers. I think tyre degradation is going to come into play here today, and I've been speaking to Richard Higgins about what tactics he's been playing in qualifying. Richard qualified ninth, not too bad. You're actually on old rubber and you're now turning onto the new tyres now for race 1.
That's correct, yep. Ian decided that he thought we should run our old Alton tyres and give us an advantage in the race. It's easier to overtake at Silverstone. We're probably not going to get pole in any case. Look at the two marks, they were flying. But the rest of us are quite close, so let's see what happens in the race. And it's so hot, tyres are going to go off. So fingers crossed that we could be right at the front, at the end. You never know.
Natalie, great to have you back at Silverstone. Your first round this championship, but you have actually done 2 years before, but lovely to have you back.
Thank you. It's really good to be back. Yeah, it feels weird coming into my first race of the season, like 3 rounds in, but that's motor racing. Qualifying hasn't been what it could have been, but I'm looking at the positives and things can only go up from here.
And now you're back with Lodge Sports Racing, so new team. How does that differ for you?
It's really good because Ernie is fantastic at preparing the car. He's got so much experience. I haven't had to tell him anything. He's just known what the car has needed. And having Steve as my teammate, who I think is currently leading the championship, is brilliant because it gives me support. And I just feel in a much better place now that I'm with such an established team that I can really start to make some improvements. And of course, we've got the new sponsors on there, Stanley. Massive step forward in terms of my support from them, and we've just signed the contract, so really proud to have their stickers on my kit, on my car, and looking forward to working with them through the rest of the season.
I'm with Brendan, our chairman of Porsche Club Motorsport. Brendan, you've already got a lot of drivers signed up for the next season, so it's obviously going to be a really exciting year. We're only in June and 15 drivers already signed up.
Yep, we've got commitments from 15 centres. Porsche have asked their centres to produce a Boxster model to race in our championship, and so far the commitment has been 15 drivers, and we're hopefully expecting up to 20, and they will be racing alongside us at our championship, which will increase the grids. And the lovely thing about it is they're bringing people in from base level. None of the drivers will have been experienced. A lot of them will be coming from the workshops and the centres and the sales divisions of Porsches, and they will get their first foothold, if you like, in Porsche racing, which will be wonderful for the club and wonderful for Porsches.
Back to today though at Silverstone, we're on the Grand Prix circuit and we've got an additional trophy to be won today, the Bill Taylor Memorial Trophy.
That's very true. Every year at this meeting we present the Bill Taylor Memorial Trophy. Bill Taylor was a very famous man in Porsche racing, and it's based on a handicap scheme. So everybody is handicapped and all the points are totted up at the end of the day. So just about any of the drivers could win it. Doesn't matter if you're driving the GT4 to start with or the Boxster down in Class 3. If you're good enough and the handicap works, you will be awarded this trophy. And it's such a lovely trophy. In fact, as we were talking earlier, the last year's winner, he says that it was the only trophy that his wife allowed him to bring into the house. All his previous trophies, and he's won many, have to stay in his garage. So it just shows you the significance of this wonderful trophy.
Mark, just seconds before you go out here, how are your nerves?
Yeah, okay, yeah, I love this circuit, so I'm really looking forward to it.
Brilliant. Qualifying went well for you.
Yes, yeah, not quite as well as I would have hoped, but yeah, I mean, very, very close at the front.
Trevor, you're another driver that has opted to save his new tyres for race 1.
Yeah, we fairly wore the other ones right out, so we thought we'd both invest in a new set for race 1, I'm afraid.
Brilliant. So you're going to be scrubbing them in pretty hard for this green flag lap.
Yes, we've got to get them scrubbed off, that's for sure.
Brilliant.
But hopefully, because it's warm, it shouldn't be too bad.
Fantastic. Good luck for race 1, Trevor.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
The cars are heading out on track now, so it's over to you, Richard, to go through the grid for race 1.
Thanks, Fern. Mark McAleer on pole position from Mark Sumter, then Chris Dyer and Kevin Harrison, Peter Morris and Craig Wilkins, row 3, Gary Duckman and Mike Price on row 4. It's Richard Higgins and Andy Toon ahead of Steve Cheetham, the Class 2 pole, then Jake McAleer and Paul Seagrave, David Botterill and Trevor Lewis, Natalie McGloin and Ross Morris completing the grid. The flag is waved and we are underway. The Petro Canada Lubricants Porsche Club Championship with Pirelli. Great start from Mark Sumter from the outside of the front row. It's inside on circuit. Pole position, the outside for this one. And, well, Mark McAleer probably will think that inside should be the pole. We could debate that probably ad nauseum. We're on board with Class 2 Championship leader and poleman Steve Cheetham in his Boxster, but it's Mark Sumter out front. Mark McAleer in second. Chris Dyer in the Cayman is third. So good performance from Chris Dyer, qualified 5th in class. And then we've got Kevin Harrison in the number 6. Good to see the Maidstone man back in action. We missed him at Alton Park on the 13th of May, but he's back with us. Challenge on for the lead coming down into Stowe. McAleer on the outside line, right of shot. Mark Sumter on the inside, and McAleer braving it out. Having a look there as well was Craig Wilkins at the back of the Class 1 runners. Richard Higgins at the moment trying to make progress, but look at Mark McAleer. That's why he held on to the outside line, coming down into Vale, grabs the inside into Club and takes the lead. A forceful move, but a fair move by Mark McAleer, who looks very determined this year. There is Paul Seagrave, second in the Class 2 standings on 110 points. Mark Sumter, the overall championship leader, with 130 points. There is Mark in the 77. Now receiving the attentions of Kevin Harrison, who goes wide here. Harrison could have more momentum and looks at the inside line, but Mark Sumter, vastly experienced driver, will be difficult to pass, but Harrison's got his nose in front. Sumter knows that he can grab the inside apex for the next corner, successfully defend second position. Harrison third, then Chris Dyer, followed by Peter Morris. Peter, I'm sure you won't mind me saying this, looked a little bit off colour this year. Not the Peter Morris that we've known of old. This is the run down into Brooklands, the left-hander. Craig Wilkins coming up into the mix now as well. Wilkins up ahead of Peter Morris, and remember we've got 2 McAleers and 2 Morrises in this race, father and son. Father's racing in Class 1, the sons both racing in Class 2. So Mark McAleer out front, Kevin Harrison looking racy on the inside line, left of shot. And as they come into Cops, he's going to make a challenge on Mark Sumter, who sees him. And the Paragon car is past Mark Sumter, relegated by Kevin Harrison. Craig Wilkins all over the back at the moment of Chris Dyer. Look at the lead that Mark McAleer has. McAleer comes into shot. There is David Botterill. Now David's 6th in the Class 2 standings. Just a point down on Trevor Lewis, the man we heard from in the holding area before the cars came out to race. So only a point between those. So both David and Trevor are going to be battling hard throughout our 2 races here at Silverstone. Mark McAleer still out front. Kevin Harrison getting away now from Mark Sumter. Sumter in third. Then it's Chris Dyer. Chris, a 4 times winner. Gary Duckman passes Peter Morris on the inside. Peter Morris, the most successful driver in Petro Canada Lubricants Porsche Club Championship with Pirelli Racing. Now, I'll come back to statistics because Nick Jones is racing with us today. This is the invitation class Porsche Cayman GT4, which started ahead of the main runners because it's got the superior performance. Started ahead, had a gap of about 20 seconds, and he's the lone invitation class runner, but great to see Nick running in the Cayman GT4. Sensible decision by the championship organisers to allow that car to run on its own, won't interfere with any of the racing going on with our two main classes. So Chris Dyer now has been passed by Craig Wilkins. Wilkins into fourth, Chris Dyer is fifth. So Mark Sumter immediately ahead. We've had so many drivers of this field have won races here at Silverstone. I'll run through who's won what over the years. Craig Wilkins won here in June 2015. Gary Duckman has won twice here, all the way back in 2008, beating Mark McAleer on both occasions. Kevin Harrison was victor here in October 2009. Mark McAleer has had 8 wins. Here comes Mark towards us now, and won last year. Mark Sumter's won 5 times. Peter Morris has won 9 times, and Chris Dyer has won Class 2 here 4 times. And last year, Peter Morris and Mark McAleer shared the win. So a little rundown, but it wouldn't be surprising if any of those drivers took the win in this race. It's a fiercely competitive field, and they love this circuit. That's why they all come out to race here on the historic GP circuit. 3.6 miles of scintillating tarmac. Super battle going on at the moment for third place. Craig Wilkins trying to hunt down Mark Sumter at the moment, but it's Mark McAleer clear from Kevin Harrison in second, Mark Sumter third, then Craig Wilkins. Chris Dyer still in the mix as well. Coming down into Stowe Corner, and Wilkins looks like he's trying to gain a bit of momentum here to maybe have a look as they head down into Vale. Trevor Lewis up ahead of David Botterill still at the moment. So Lewis keeping the upper hand for 5th in the championship here at Silverstone. We'll have more for you after the break. Welcome back to Silverstone. This is the fight for the lead in Class 2. Jake McAleer very much looks like he could be back to winning ways, but Steve Cheetham is having a look. The Lodge Sports driver has a look down the inside line as they head into Abbey, the right-hander. Meanwhile, this is the battle for third overall, and also in the class lead. And Mark Sumter is passed by Craig Wilkins. Great move by Wilkins. Chris Dyer in the mix as well. Mark Sumter from the front row of the grid finds himself down in 4th, and Craig Wilkins has done a super job from 6th position on the grid to get up onto a potential podium. Mark McAleer is the lead driver running with the RVR team in terms of the championship. There is a team award that is presented by the Porsche Club Championship each year, currently led by Team Strasser A, which comprises Ross Morris, Chris Dyer, Peter Morris and Andy Toon. County Classics are second. Michael Price, Peter Ursek, not racing with us this weekend, Richard Higgins and Kevin Harrison. There is Trevor Lewis, and sadly into pit lane comes Peter Morris. Let's hope that he can get back out, maybe run some diagnostics, but the former champion, multiple champion in the Petro Canada Lubricants Porsche Club Championship with Pirelli, Peter Morris, not where we like to see him. We like to see him out at the sharp end of things with the likes of these guys that are heading down the hangar straight once again. Mark McAleer, who is looking for win number 4 of the season. Mark himself a former champion. Craig Wilkins here in car number 11 is third. Mark Sumter at the moment keeping Chris Dyer at arm's length. Then it's Gary Duckman followed by Richard Higgins. Higgins running in the County Classics team, as I mentioned. Third in the team standings, RVR Racing, Mark and Jake McAleer. Lodge Sport Racing follow them. Steve Cheetham now joined, of course, by Natalie McGloin, as you heard in the interview with Fern prior to the race. Great to welcome Natalie back to the championship. Mark McAleer not only leading the Class 1 runners, but also setting fastest laps as well. Here is Steve Cheetham. Steve's lost a little bit of ground at the moment on Jake McAleer. Jake is 4th in the championship standings, had a retirement at Alton Park. Remember, drop scores need to come into play as well. Pete Morris waved back out onto track. That's good news to see Peter back out on circuits, but he's going to be a way down. But hopefully, whatever problems he's had can be diagnosed and sorted out. As we look at Richard Higgins there. Richard retired from race 2 of the year at Brands Hatch, but had a 6th place in race 1, a 5th position, his best result so far this year at Alton Park, but Jake McAleer, double winner at Brands Hatch, double pole, double fastest lap as well, emulating his father. It was very much a McAleer dominated event, Brands Hatch, and it could well turn out to be that way this weekend as well, although of course we saw Steve Cheetham take pole position for race number 1. Kevin Harrison though is keen that it shouldn't be a McAleer benefit. He's closing in, he's closer to Mark McAleer than he was at the end of lap number 2. So Harrison looking very, very handy indeed, and could well close in. Peter Morris is the man at the end of the straight that they're closing in on, so Morris still running and will pick up some points here. As long as he's a classified finisher, Peter Morris will bag some championship points, and they could come into play at the end of the year. So McAleer still from Harrison. Peter Morris, look at that, very gentlemanly racing, keeps well clear of Mark and Kevin who go through. That was super spotting from Peter Morris, who allows them through, doesn't interfere with the race lead at all. So they go down the international pits straight into Abbey Corner, now the right-hander. Watch for the left-hand move around into Farm, then Village and the loop left-hander. We are back at Stowe though, with 1 and 2 in Class 2. Jake McAleer still ahead of Steve Cheetham. Steve Cheetham with 2 class wins and 2 second places so far this year, and 19 points clear of Paul Seagrave, who's second in the standings. Ross Morris is third, and Ross not having a good one either. Ross in fact a non-finisher in this race, so he's retired. So great for the McAleers, not so good for the Morris family at the moment. Steve Cheetham though will continue to bang it, to think that if he maintains position here, won't have finished out of the top 2 in the first 5 races of this year. However, as we go on to the last lap, Kevin Harrison is very close indeed to Mark McAleer, and indeed challenging for that lead as they head towards Beckett's. This is not a done deal at all for Mark McAleer, who is being put under pressure, but McAleer is responding. The timing screen showing us purple sectors, indicating that he is going as quick as he has done, or as quick as anybody so far. There is Pete Morris still running, 9th position in the offing for Pete, but this the view coming down into Stowe Corner for the last time, and it's McAleer still there. He's responded to the pressure from Kevin Harrison, a couple of lengths between the two of them. So Mark looking for win number 4 of this year, back with the Class 2 runners. There is Steve Cheetham still chasing Jake McAleer. Jake with the fastest lap in class so far, back on lap 7, 91.07 miles per hour on the international pit straight for the last time come the race leaders. Craig Wilkins still in sight as well. Mark Sumter is 4th from Chris Dyer. Gary Duckman and Richard Higgins dicing over 6th and 7th position in class 1. Andy Toon will be in the distance. There is Andy trying to close up on those guys at the moment. Andy Toon, the defending champion, won that title last year in class 2, but still soaking up the pressure, and indeed lighting up the timing screen on this last tour is Mark McAleer. There is Kevin Harrison still in 2nd place, and the outright win taken by Nick Jones in the Invitation Class GT4 Cayman. But this is the championship battle, and it's Mark McAleer into Brooklands for the last time. Very neatly done into Luffield, keeps it relatively tight there, doesn't want to leave a gap. Kevin Harrison has tried everything, he's thrown absolutely everything at Mark McAleer through the course of the race, but it's the former champion that's going to take the win. Across the line they go. Trevor Lewis immediately in front of them. Trevor will finish in 5th place in Class 2 behind David Botterill, so there may be a change in championship positions between those two, and it's Jake McAleer who's going to make it 2 out of 2 for the McAleer family into Brooklands. Again, very neat and tidy. Fastest lap, and incidentally Mark McAleer got fastest lap on the last lap of the race, trying to pull away and fend off Kevin Harrison. So we wait for Jake McAleer to come through. Coming towards us is Peter Morris. There is Jake McAleer, who wins Class 2. Steve Cheetham, another fine result in 2nd. So here's the result. Mark McAleer from Kevin Harrison and Craig Wilkins. Mark Sumter next from Chris Dyatt, Gary Duckman. Richard Higgins 7th from Andy Toon. Jake McAleer wins Class 2 ahead of Steve Cheetham and Paul Seagrave. David Bottrell getting the better of Trevor Lewis, with Peter Morris in 14th.
Congratulations, Mark. Fantastic win.
Thank you very much, yeah. That felt really, really hard work. Obviously the heat, and Kevin was like a terrier. He just didn't, he wouldn't let go. So yeah, it was really hard work, but absolutely over the moon with that.
I bet you were trying to save those tyres for race 2.
Well, yes and no, because obviously he was very quick, was Kevin, and I couldn't really afford to slow down much at all. It was just a case of having to go for it, make the most of where my car was quicker than his, and vice versa, defend where it wasn't.
Kevin, what a race! I think you were just waiting for Mark to make a mistake there, weren't you?
Yeah, Mark McAleer doesn't make a mistake. It's so difficult. But I tried and kept pushing, and he just didn't make a mistake. So, yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. It's good fun.
You made a fantastic start as well.
Yeah, I tend to do that. But yeah, no, really good fun. Hard work though. It's quite hot in there.
Yeah, absolutely. And looking forward to race 2.
Yeah, let's have more of the same. We'll see if we can do it again.
Yeah, all these points are really building for a great end to the championship for you.
Yeah, I'm just jumping in and out of the championship at the moment. So for me, it's not so much the points. It's just having some fun.
Craig, podium again. Got to be happy with that.
Very happy. I made a complete hash of qualifying and was down, I think, in 6th in our championship on the grid. And to be honest, I didn't actually expect to get a podium, but made a couple of good moves, had a good race. Mark was very hard work to pass, so very happy with it. See what we can do second time round.
Brilliant. The car obviously is doing really well setup-wise for you. Maybe find some more pace for ahead of race 2.
I have a sneaking suspicion with the temperature going up, everything's going to slow down, but we'll see how we go.
There we go. Good insider knowledge. Thanks, Craig. Jake, congratulations! Another win for you.
Yeah, well, it was the perfect tonic we all needed, me and the team, after a really bad Alton Park where the luck just didn't go our way.
But you obviously made a fantastic start to get Steve.
Well, actually, my start was pretty woeful. Paul took me off the line, managed to get him down the hanger straight, and Steve just had a bit of a sideways movement. We went side by side for a while, and that was good fun.
Steve, that was a tough race, wasn't it?
Yeah, just a bit. It was okay for the first few laps, and I made a little mistake and let Jake through, and I managed to stay with him for a few laps, but then I was fighting the car then, really. I think it overheated my tyres a bit, and I was struggling to keep the back end planted to the circuit, really. So, yeah, I couldn't make much ground on him after that.
Paul, another podium for you. You must be thrilled.
Yes, very good. I'm very pleased. Qualifying wasn't as good as I'd like. We had a bit of trouble getting our tyres trimmed out, but I knew I could go quicker. Brilliant start. Got past Jake McAleer. And then out of Magnus Beckett, he got a better exit than me and got past me. So we then chased down Steve. Then he started battling with Steve, and it was just nip and tuck with them. And eventually I just dropped back, lost a little bit of concentration. But yeah, good result, so I'm happy.
Pete, it's not been the best start for your day, really, has it?
No, it's. I was struggling really because we had an engine blow up at Alton, so we fixed the engine now. I changed gearboxes on a couple of races ago, and the ratios are totally inadequate for here. I'm weighing 5th gear too many times, and we thought we'd change the gearbox because the car's second and a half off the pace. A bit disappointing after being on the podium all these years, but the lads are doing a great job, Strasser.
They really want to give you the best car they possibly can.
And they have done, because we've won 2 championships with them, but it's frustrating. And then as a driver, he's thinking, you start not liking the car. He's going down the straight thinking, like, does he put in right? Is he doing this? Is he doing that? And it's all in my head as well now, so I need to get out and just enjoy it.
Quite interesting, your first race. Your lap times were just coming down and down and down. It looked like you were having a great time out there. So are we going to see a purple sector again on this one?
Yeah, well, let's hope so. I think I'll certainly be out there enjoying myself. So hopefully we'll go a little bit quicker in this race, I would say. I'm sure maybe in the next round or the next time they put this on as an invitation, there'll be a few more GT4s on the grid and have a bit more of a dice.
So Andy, how are you finding the new car now that you're in Class 1?
It's taking some getting used to, but it's good. I love it. It's a big step up from Class 2 to Class 1. This is only my second race meeting. I didn't do the last meeting at Alton Park. But this season, it's just about feeling my way with it, getting used to the car. There's no pressure. unlike last year where I was obviously trying to win the championship. So this year it's just steady, and just away we go. The surprising thing was altering the suspension as much as we've had to soften the car down. Traditionally here you make it as stiff as possible because it's a fast circuit, but that just hasn't worked this time. But everyone's in the same boat.
Dave, you've had a few problems with brakes. Have they been cured ahead of race 2?
I think we have, yeah. We've had a problem in qualifying. We thought we had a look at it for race 1. Turned out in race 1 the problem wasn't solved, but we've had another look and we think it's solved now. So pedal feels good. I'm hoping to be able to do a little bit of smoother and quicker deceleration on this race.
I suppose for you, you're just trying to get those laps in, because on the race 1 you really were having to left foot brake down the straight just to be able to keep getting some brakes in for the end of the straight.
Yeah, I learned that technique about halfway through the race. I was just thinking, what can I do to try and make this better? And essentially it just gave me a bit more confidence. I wasn't racing with anybody, I was just trying to maintain position and make sure Trevor, who'd gone off, I just wanted to make sure that he wasn't going to close up on me, and I built a gap. So,
Gary, how are you finding Silverstone this weekend?
A bit of a struggle with the heat, to be fair. We're struggling with rear grip. We were in race 1. Hopefully we've made enough changes to stop that happening in race 2. But yeah, it's hard work.
You had a fantastic result last time we were out. I'm sure you're really frustrated being back here on race 6.
I'm not used to being back here. I normally run in top 3, so yeah, it's going to take the rest of the year, I think, just to develop the car and get me some testing time, really, to start trying to challenge again for the podiums. But Silverstone's nice to race at. It's a good fun circuit. Hopefully we'll have a bit of fun out there.
Race 2 of the Petro Canada Lubricants Porsche Club Championship with Pirelli is coming up next.
Two marks on the front row, McAleer and Sumter, followed by Chris Dyer and Kevin Harrison for race 2. Peter Morris and Craig Wilkins ahead of Mike Price and Gary Duckman, Richard Higgins and Andy Toon next from Steve Cheetham, the Class 2 pole position man. Jake McAleer alongside them, Paul Seagrave and David Botterill, Trevor Lewis, Natalie McGloin and Ross Morris completing the grid. The flag is waved and we are underway here at Silverstone. Great start by Mark Sumter from position 2 on the grid, which is the inside, remember. Mark McAleer on the outside. Super start by Chris Dyer in the Cayman. He's hooked up well and looking for drive round the outside of Kevin Harrison as they go through Copse Corner. The race leader in Class 2, a flash of black and yellow tells us that Steve Cheetham has converted pole into an early lead from Paul Seagrave and Jake McAleer, but Mark McAleer looking through on the inside line here as they go through Beckett's. Great move by McAleer. Mark McAleer's got the lead. Can he hold on to it though? It was earlier than he did on lap 1 in race 1, but he leads. Mark Sumter in second. Chris Dyer is in third place, coming down the hanger straight for the first time. Chris Dyer pulls out, has a look to the outside line of Mark Sumter, and that potentially leaves the door open for Kevin Harrison. Harrison, I think, going through into third place. There is Steve Cheetham. Jake McAleer back up to second. Paul Seagrave is there in third in 45. David Botterill is fourth in Class 2. Super start. Fantastic sight these cars make. And I'll refer you back to the statistics. Look at this. Challenge on here by Steve Cheetham all over the back of Richard Higgins. Class 2 car challenging Class 1 machine. The statistic I gave you in race number 1 about the number of different race winners that we have in this championship who have won here in the past at Silverstone. It just goes to show how these drivers love this championship and how they stay with the championship as well. And if you look down the list of former champions as well, that's borne out. But we've got a great race on with the top 4 at the end, coming towards the end of the first 4 miles or so of this race, really fighting it out. Peter Morris there, you feel fighting a little bit of a losing battle this weekend. Great to hear him say, Strasser gave him a championship winning car, of course, in the past, an outright championship winning car, outright champion in 2014 and 2015. He's having to give best to Craig Wilkins at the moment. Wilkins ahead of him in 5th position. Gary Duckman immediately behind. Then the reigning champion Andy Toon. Good to hear his perspective about moving up from Class 2. And of course the key thing about this championship is that you can be outright champion in Class 2. You can, as a newcomer, come in, bed yourself into the championship and into Porsche racing and win the championship outright. The outright championship lead, incidentally, changed after race 1. I'll come back to that a little bit later on. when I have time, but we were on board momentarily there with Chris Dyer, busy snapping away at the heels of Kevin Harrison. Mark Sumter seems to have pulled himself clear at the moment in second position, away from Kevin Harrison, and trying to get back on terms with Mark McAleer. Now, I think what Fern said about tyres could be absolutely crucial, because temperatures here are absolutely searing this weekend. And I've got to say, the tyre management we've seen so far from the drivers absolutely spot on. Mark McAleer, though, clearly wasn't saving tyres in race one. Statistically, we knew he was lighting up the timing screen on the last lap and got the fastest lap on the last lap of the race. Richard Higgins closing up on Andy Toon. Then it's Steve Cheetham, the lead Class 2 runner, with a good lead. Steve Cheetham ahead of Mark McAleer. Paul Seagrave still in third place. Seagrave's been so consistent this year. Third in race 1, that was at Brands Hatch. Fourth in race 2. Moving on to Alton Park, a brace of second positions and another podium for him in race number 1 here at Silverstone as they go past the iconic wing building here. On board again with Chris Dyer, former champion of course in Class 2. He was outright champion in 2010 and successfully defended the Class 2 title, although not the overall championship, in 2011 when Mark Sumter took it. Here is David Botterill, who did manage to get that point on Trevor Lewis in race number 1, so he's now joint 4th in the championship standings on 116 points with Trevor Lewis, and he'll be looking to try and consolidate 4th position in the championship for Class 2 in this race. Peter Morris now has lost out to Andy Toon. Richard Higgins trying to close in with Peter Morris as well, so very definitely not a happy meeting for Morris. Let's hope that he can be sorted out for Croft Circuit, which takes place on the 19th of August. I hope you can join us there. But some great racing still to be had here today at Silverstone as they come down into Copse Corner once again. Richard Higgins having a look at the inside line. Is he going to be able to make that? No, he's too far back at the moment. And now I think he's going to put the move on Peter Morris in the Strasser car. Peter, even with an unhappy car under him, is still a fast and competent driver and not an easy man to pass. He's still going to race for every second and every point that he can possibly get. And as you can see, Richard Higgins in the 16 car is finding that out at the moment. Mark McAleer leads, Sumter in second, Harrison third, Dyer followed by Craig Wilkins. Natalie McLoyne, good look at Natalie, the lady racer from Fulham in the Cayman, quitting herself well. Great to see her with the Lodge Sports team. Non-finish for her in race number 1, but hoping to get a little bit more mileage under her belt in this one. There is Pete Morris now with Higgins ahead of him coming out of Club Corner, and a super view of these cars racing on the MG Live Day here. The whole of Silverstone taken over by MG. Massive complex for MG to take over, and some superb racing. And our annual visit here. There is Paul Seagrave still on the podium in Class 2. Steve Cheetham, incidentally, outright championship leader now by a single point from Mark Sumter. Jake McAleer is tied in second position in Class 2 on 136 points now. It's so close. Class 2 is close, Class 1 is close, the overall championship is close as well, and we're at the halfway stage of the season. Whilst we've seen Mark McAleer maybe take more wins, it could be consistency of places that secure the championship at the end of the year. It's going to be a fantastic and fascinating run in towards the end of the season. Here is Steve Cheetham, still the Class 2 leader here in round 6 of this year's championship. Cheetham driving well. It does look, however, as if Jake McAleer is beginning to close in. The gap has come down a little bit from where it was at the start. So McAleer getting the bit between his teeth. Steve Cheetham will look in his mirrors. He'll be told by his pit crew that Jake McAleer is on the move, and he will try and respond to that, pull away and grab another class win. So back with second, third, fourth and fifth places. Craig Wilkins in fifth, and Chris Dyer still trying to get back onto the podium. Dyer has had outright podia before, Donington Park in 2015, Alton Park in 2015, back with Jake McAleer. Seems to have lost a little bit of ground for the moment on Steve Cheetham. Go back to Chris Dyer, also had a podium at Alton Park in 2016. So no stranger to podium positions with those third place results that we discussed, and trying to get on terms with Kevin Harrison and maybe get up into third position here. Craig Wilkins with Gary Duckman in his sights as well. Gary running a little bit wide there. They'll have to be careful of track limits. Here is Trevor Lewis, joint fourth in the championship standings. Now there is the Class 2 race leader going through shot. That's how much. So the lead has gone out in Class 2. Jake McAleer second. The red car in the distance is Paul Seagrave. And now Mark Sumter coming under pressure from Kevin Harrison. Harrison looking for second place. Can he do it? Join us after the break to see. Steve Cheetham, the outright championship leader coming into this race. I should hasten to add that that's by my maths. I think it's by a solitary point at the moment. It's going to be very close on who leads the championship leaving Silverstone, heading towards Croft, but it's Mark McAleer leading the race. Mark Sumter next up from Kevin Harrison, then Craig Wilkins. Chris Dyer is in fifth position ahead of Gary Duckman. The key thing here for me is how close second, third, fourth, fifth and sixth positions are. All very close indeed. When you consider that we lost Peter Morris from the equation, that would potentially make it 6 cars for second place, because Peter would probably be there or thereabouts with Mark McAleer. Arguably for Peter, he'd probably be ahead of Mark McAleer on his best day. But Mark McAleer looking very spectacular so far this year with that double win where he opened up his 2017 account at Brands Hatch. That is Richard Higgins, who is off circuit. Steve Cheetham still out front. Decent lead here over Jake McAleer. Cheetham looking to take a third win of the year. He'll tie with Jake McAleer on wins if he grabs this one. But Jake McAleer had a non-finish in round 4 in May at Alton Park. Chris Dyer looking racy there in the Cayman, round the outside line of Craig Wilkins. Can't quite do it, so he's going to maybe go the long way round into Luffield. Needs to be mindful of Gary Duckman immediately behind him. Nips back in. Craig Wilkins not perhaps going as wide, but certainly had the line. There wasn't room for Chris Dyer to try the outside line, so coming through Woodcote, they'll tick off another lap. Mark McAleer leading, Mark Sumter in second, Kevin Harrison still looking nice and settled there in third place through Copse. This is one of the areas where you can get told off for track limits. Waved yellow flag there. This is the first and second in Class 2 both in shot. Here's Jake McAleer still trying to hunt down Steve Cheetham, but Steve looks as though he's still got a comfortable gap. It was much smaller in the early stages, and Steve Cheetham's got his head down, pulled away from Jake McAleer. But these are long races, best part of half an hour, so it may be that Jake still has a little bit of time to close down on the class leader. And Jake McAleer here looking to consolidate second position in the championship ahead of Paul Seagrave, which he will do if he finishes in front of Paul Seagrave. And then he can look at that overall points tally and try and hunt down Steve Cheetham. 5-way battle still on for second place. Mark Sumter at the head from Kevin Harrison. Chris Dyer. I've got to say the Caymans are looking sharper and sharper as the season goes on. Gary Duckman running a little bit wide once again. He'll have to keep an eye on that. He's just trying to learn about the car, as you heard in the words that he had with Fern. Here is Chris Dyer, though, having a very good look at the back end of Craig Wilkins. Well, Craig's only had one trajectory so far this weekend, and that's forward. So it might be a surprise if we see Chris Dyer relieve him of a position. But Harrison getting closer to Sumter. Wilkins getting closer to Harrison. Duckman's getting closer to Dyer. And Dyer in turn is getting closer to Craig Wilkins. Fascinating race between these. Now look at Wilkins going wide here. No sense of defence at all from Craig Wilkins, who's going to take a nice wide line into Brooklands. Harrison closing up on Mark Sumter, and he's going to have a look on the inside line, which converts to the outside, drops back in because he can see Craig Wilkins sniffing away for and looking for that gap on the inside line as Chris Dyer gets a run out of Luffield, and can Dyer maybe have a look on the inside line? We go on board with the Yorkshireman, who's challenging hard, goes back to the outside now. This is a real game of cat and mouse between these drivers as we go on to the last lap. It's still Mark Sumpter in second place, and Chris Dyer is all over the back of Craig Wilkins. This has been a fascinating battle now, and Dyer was looking up the inside. I've got to say, the outfield shot looked as if he was closer to Wilkins. Through the Beckett's wiggle, things have closed up in Class 2. I'm not sure Jake McAleer's going to be in a position to challenge for the lead. He's got around about 4 miles to go, just under 4 miles of the race left. So maybe he will. It looks as if he's closing down on Steve Cheetham. He has definitely closed on Steve Cheetham here. So Jake McAleer coming up to complete the 10th lap of the race. There is Trevor Lewis in 4th, who is ahead of David Botterill. So we'll go back into outright 4th place in the Class 2 standings. Cheetham and McAleer. This could well shape up into a last lap battle, and Cheetham went a little bit wide there at Copse. And again, track limits could come into play, but he hasn't had any warning so far, Steve Cheetham. The race leader's down the international pit straight for the last time. This very much going through Beckett's, past the Richard Higgins car, which is stranded there. That's why there are yellow flags in the background there. So coming on to Hanger Straight for the last time. Now, are we going to see Jake McAleer make a move? He's closing up, and remember, he'll pick up a bit of a tow. The inside line is covered by Steve Cheetham, but Jake McAleer having a run round the outside and having a very good look for it. Can't quite do it, but what he might do is go for the cut back on the inside down into Vale. They're side by side for the Class 2 lead, and Jake McAleer is trying to get round the outside line, but Steve Cheetham holds sway there. Cheetham grabs the lead back on the way into the complex, gets a little bit of opposite lock, and that will scrub off speed. Meanwhile, a challenge on Kevin Harrison. Challenge there by Craig Wilkins, and Chris Dyer has dived through. Dyer's come through and into second. Dyer is second. Gary Duckman is immediately behind him. So Gary Duckman's going to take third. Chris Dyer, this is the highest we've seen him in Class 1. The race win will go to Mark McAleer. Second position goes to Chris Dyer. Third across the line is Gary Duckman, but we're hearing there's a track limits penalty for Gary Duckman, so that's going to change the results around. But a best ever result for Chris Dyer in the Cayman. Here's the view from Steve Cheetham coming down the Wellington Straight for the last time. Now look at Jake McAleer. McAleer is left of shot and he's going for the sweep round the outside line, but Steve Cheetham is keeping it tight, but no, he isn't. He runs wide. Cheetham runs wide, and Jake McAleer's got the lead on the anti-penultimate corner of the lap. Jake McAleer, he was way back earlier on in the race, but he chipped away. Now, does that mean Steve Cheetham's brakes are going, or maybe the tyres? Either way, it's Jake McAleer who comes through and will take the win in Class 2 from Steve Cheetham, who significantly, of course, gets the finish in second place. Mark McAleer takes it from Chris Dyer. Mark's up to third from Craig Wilkins, then Kevin Harrison. Gary Duckman after track limits was 6th, then Andy Toon. Jake McAleer winning Class 2 from Steve Cheetham and Paul Seagrave. Trevor Lewis in 11th from David Botterill, and Natalie McGloin completing the finishers in 13th.
That was really exciting race.
Well, I mean, from my perspective, obviously I got a bit of a break at the start, and I could see in the mirror that everyone was squabbling, so I thought if I can just keep a constant pace, we should be okay, and thankfully that's how it worked out.
Yeah, the drivers have been telling me that you don't often make mistakes. I think you've proven that this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things we try to do. We might not always be quite the quickest, but we always try to be very consistent, and today we've been quick and consistent, so even better.
Chris, not only your birthday this weekend, but you've just had another podium. How are you feeling?
Yeah, well pleased actually. Yeah, we're a bit gifted, second to last corner, but I'll take it. You've got to be in it to win it.
The pace that everyone has is so close, especially on such a long track like this.
It's unbelievable. It's just within feet of each other, just constantly. So, no, it's really, really good.
Mark, your car's got a few battle wounds on it. It looked like an exciting end to the race.
It was really exciting, yeah. I mean, I obviously enjoyed that race more than race one. But Kevin, I'd been fairly defensive with Kevin, and half a lap to go, he decided he was coming through, whatever. A bit ambitious, I thought, but there you go. So then I went down to 6th, I think, or 5th or 6th. And then in second to last corner, he came together with another car. and I managed to sort of work my way through and ended up third. So yeah, sort of quite exciting.
Jake, fantastic, another win. What a great weekend for you.
Yeah, well, it was a lot less straightforward than the first one, that's for sure. It was a lot of hard work there.
Is that just because of the heat? Anything wrong with the car? Or?
No, me and Steve tried to go 2 into 1 where one didn't quite fit, and unfortunately I span off, and from then on it was just quali lap after quali lap, and I can't believe I caught him in the end, to be honest.
Steve, another fantastic podium.
Yeah, I was just a bit gutted really, because I had that one in the bag, and really I had such a lead that I shut off a bit and thought, just save the tyres for the next round and just do as much as you need to do. And then he pulled a move on me down at the historic part of the circuit, and he ran wide and spun off, and that's where I ended up with a big lead. And I honestly I got too complacent and thought, this is an easy win, and just keep going and you'll get it. And I underestimated him, and fair play to him really. He put the pedal down and caught me.
Paul, another fantastic start from you, and then it looked like you may just be happy with that third place.
Yes and no. I mean, you try your best, but there comes a point where you realise you're just not as quick. And obviously, if you had someone behind you, you'd have to keep going. But for me, I'd pulled away. I did enough in the first couple of laps just to get a gap. And then just probably last 3 laps, I just took it easy to try and preserve the tyres for Croft, because what I did feel as I was sliding a bit and had a few problems stopping at places. But other than that, it was good. So.
Congratulations to Chris Dyer on winning the Bill Taylor Memorial Trophy. He's third in the standings behind joint leaders Mark McAleer and Mark Sumter. Craig Wilkins 4th, Gary Duckman 5th, ahead of Peter Morris in 6th. In Class 2 it's Steve Cheetham, he's ahead of Jake McAleer, Paul Seagrave, Trevor Lewis, David Bottrell and Ross Morris in 6th.
Another fantastic day's racing of the Porsche Club Championship here at Silverstone. Next time we'll be out at Croft, we'll see you then.